Hi, blood bankers. Thought we'd try something different for our training for 2019. Try to put in some videos to the med training so that we can get some explanation for you guys about some of the changes. So this most recent one is an update to antigen typing. So the SOP changes are to antigen testing on the Neo and antigen red cell typing. So the first one for antigen testing on the Neo, this changed to remove any reference to the diluted antisera screening that was done previously. In addition, it just focuses in on the RH and K screening that we do on the instrument. Lastly, the change that was made here is in relation to those who do the screening, is about this last section on documentation. Documentation section 10, where it says, if applicable, in other words, if you're going to use the negative screens that you found, complete the donor antigen typing label, and then maintain the Neo result until the Cerner entry is completed. So I talked a little bit to Jan this morning about that, and Kathy is the one who validated this as well. There's a little concern about discarding the test results after they're entered. Ask for your thought on that. We really don't want to maintain those records once they're in Cerner. But we will keep a track on it if there, for some reason we lose results, and that was the fear that was voiced by Kathy and Jan, that we will come back to it. But that section 10 was changed so that we will not maintain a binder any longer with Neo screening results. We want to partner with the person who's doing it to get the Cerner entry in and the unit tagged as soon as possible. Okay, so with that, just be aware of those changes to the Neo antigen typing. So that will be assigned in policy stat for your review of the SOP as well. So for antigen typing, this was a change that we've actually been working on for about 6 months. So thank you all for your patience. Special thanks to Evan, Kathy, and then Diana, who actually created our form for us and reviewed and made a lot of the initial revisions. So thank you to her in Seattle. But changes to the SOP first. So changes to the SOP again, removed any reference to diluted antisera testing on the Neo, and made the reference update to a new form. So testing itself, again, you're always going to follow package insert for your antisera testing. If you're doing automated testing, it refers you over to either the antigen screening on the Neo right now, and from that standpoint, again, documentation-wise, you want to make sure you're following the SOP that way. In addition, the labeling of the donor units, we want to make sure that when you're performing additional testing, that you are getting that unit tested and tagged, especially those that are positive, so that we don't pull that unit again and do more screening on it. Cerner entry did not change for our antigen typing at all. And then for cross-match screening, which is actually in this SOP, that section did not change either. So the biggest change to this section was actually the quality control and the screening documents. So overall for antigen screening, if you're going to test a patient, the patient will be tested as part of an antibody identification. So since it's being tested as part of an antibody identification, then that antigen typing will go on the antibody worksheet. Okay, so on your antibody workup page on the back side right now. Okay, so any antigen testing for patients will go on that form. Now, any antigen testing that is done for donors is then going to be on our new donor unit antigen screening worksheet. Okay, so the intent of this worksheet is that all the units that you would screen, you would test individual units, do your Cerner entry, and there is the testing tech, and then this is peer reviewed. Okay, and this is very consistent with changes we've made over the last year, that this is all manual testing. When you do manual testing and Cerner entry, you should have someone check it. Okay, one of the things we talked about in the reviews this last time is also to consider the tagging. Now, we did not add that this form will also document that you check the tagging, but we do I want to say that I will probably bring my units and my paperwork to whoever's doing my peer review and have them check it. Make sure that I tag them correctly, because I'm manually tagging. So let's use that as a second day kind of update if that's something we want to add to this process. Okay, so the donor units would be if I have a patient with JKA and I'm going to screen for JKA, I'm going to pull out my units, put my labels on. All the labels should fit. I'm going to test for JKA, but before I test for JKA, I'm going to do quality control. So quality control has changed to this document. So the quality control document looks very different. It is a 1-day QC form, okay, which is the same concept we changed with irradiation, same concept we changed to sterile doc. So this is the same kind of change. So that your antigen testing will be, my JKA would go, anti-JKA would go there, my lot number and expiration. Then a reminder over here for me to use a heterozygous cell for my control. I would have my cell number and my expiration and my unit number. So my cell number that I'm using. Then I'm going to have my test result, or my negative control, and then I'll have my test result. Down at the bottom, I'm going to have my tech initials, and then as well a peer review. Okay, so I am then going to, once my quality control is completed, I'm then going to put this back on the refrigerator. So it's not going, these documents, both this and this, are not going to live in a binder after this change. They are going to live out for everyone to see. If we increase visibility, I can look across the lab and look to see if JKA is done, or walk up to it and see if JKA is done. And I can then use my own paper for my screening. And that way, if someone in reference is screening, then they can use their own paper and their own QC, and they can document their QC. We are going to share the QC form, but it's going to be one QC for each day. Now, these are blanks, okay? So this will also help us know what anesthesia we use on a daily basis. And then this will get turned in every night at midnight. So for my overnight shifters, this will be pulled every night and a new form started. Okay, so that this is done and completed. Now back to my screen. So for my JKA screen, again, I've got my unit numbers. I'm going to do my JK screen. Now at the bottom here, I'm going to indicate the lot number and expiration of the anesthesia that I'm using. The reason I want to do that is that just in case we have more than one or two anesthesias that are in use, or one runs out and we start a new one, we want to know what anesthesia and expiration you used for your screening. Down at the bottom, it also says, is QC valid? In other words, did you check it? This is the one line that I really want to focus on for you guys. That could be an area that is new. We're not used to saying, is QC valid on this type of form, so make sure you're following this from top to bottom. Now, on the Cerner entry, again, they're verifying that you entered this. This is a yes or a no. Okay, so for our negatives, we're going to enter them into server. For our positives, we're going to no, we're not going to enter them into Cerner. So it'd be yes or Y or N for yes or no. Testing tech, and then the peer review. Okay, so someone's going to come behind, check your documentation, make sure that you are getting complete on your document. So let me give you an example of what that looks like. Okay, so my example I have is that I needed to screen for K. So first thing I'm going to do is my quality control. So with my QC, I hope you can see this, I have my date of testing, my lot number and my expiration. Then I have my lot number and expiration of my cell that I'm using with the cell number with proper error correction. And then I have my result right there. So there's my positive heterozygous control. Then down here I have my negative control. So same thing, lot number, expiration, cell number, and then my negative control. And then I'm the one that did the testing, and Tracy's the one that checked it, or she did check it. So that again shows me that the QC is valid. So now that my QC is valid, I then can write my screen. So this is my screen. Again, I've got my unit numbers right here. I've got my K typings. Yes, I entered them into Cerner because they're both negative. If one was negative and one was positive, I would only enter the negative, and then this would be yes and no. Since both are negative, I enter them both as yes. My initials, and then I give it to my reviewer, and my reviewer checks it. Okay, so this is what's different. Once I'm done, I turn it in. Okay, I'm going to put it in SuperView. We're not going to have a rolling screening log. It is a one and done screening log. So we can match up your testing versus Eris's testing versus Natty's testing versus Jane's testing, and I can compare every day all the screening that was done and compare it back to QC. So the worksheets and the QC would go together. So as we make this change, I hope that this video is helpful to explain the changes in the process. As with any change, please provide feedback, and we're going to be looking for that feedback within the first month to 2, maybe 3, so that if we need to make tweaks to the process, and I know we have some questions about tagging, we have some questions about the NEO screening results. You know, one of the thoughts I had, for example, is maybe we use this screening and we attach our NEO screening results, and we could use this to verify Cerner entry. So think about those things. Those are not in the current procedure, but are opportunities that you can once you use and interact with the form, you go. So the big changes are a new QC form that is posted and not in a binder, a new worksheet that you use individually and turn in for each of your donor testing, again, which is very similar to what we do for hemoglobin S. And then the update to the NEO screening with, again, we're not going to maintain a binder of the NEO screening results. So thanks for taking time to listen. I hope this video is helpful, along with the attachments and the med training. So thank you so much.